Today we're talking about a topic that I feel like everyone, maybe that's an exaggeration, a lot of people need to hear, and that is about how to not lose yourself at the beginning of dating, or how to stay authentically you at the beginning of dating and like really throughout your whole relationship. Because let's be honest, it's really easy to lose yourself in a relationship, particularly if you feel invested in it, particularly if you feel like you've got some skin in the game, you really like the person, you really want it to work out, you're invested in the outcome of it. It's easy to slowly lose yourself, and quite often we're not even aware that we're doing this. So let's talk about why this kind of happens in relationships and what you can do about it to stop it. So at the beginning of relationships, we quite often, at the beginning of dating someone, like this happens really early on, right? We often want to appear a certain way. And I like to call this kind of like the 2D version of ourselves, because we like to show up with how we want to be seen or how we want others to perceive us. And quite often it's only the good parts about us. And I should have put that in brackets, because it's not like there are no good or bad parts about us. We're just whole, and that is all parts of ourselves. But quite often we show up with these people pleaser parts, the places that you think that people will want to see of you. And it's about being liked, but it's not really about being real or authentic. And so that is often this facade that's on. And it's not that it's not part of you. You have those parts to you as well, but it's often that you're hiding other parts to you. So that's the first kind of part about it, is that you show up as this version of yourself that you think people want you to be. And so that automatically is not authentic, not completely authentic anyway. And this is kind of like a filtered version of ourselves. So like the highlight reel of Instagram when you show up. This is how you show up on this, like these images of what you think people want you to be. So, and then down the line, we often wonder why do I feel misunderstood? Why do I feel anxious? Why do I feel like they don't get me? Because you only show up with half of you, right? So they're not fully getting to see the real you, and they also don't get to experience the real you. And it's also, people often show up with the perception of how they think the other person wants to see them or wants them to be, which is not always the truth, because often that's a massive assumption about what you think they want you to be or who they think you want you to be. So what does authenticity actually look like in relationships? So it's easy for me to say, like, be authentic, be you, show up, be yourself. But what does that mean? So when I think about authenticity, it's about showing up and being vulnerable and speaking your mind even when you are scared of the outcome or scared of what the other person's going to think. Like, so voicing your opinions about things, saying what you need from the other person, putting boundaries in place, being you even if you feel like it's silly. Like, I remember I had this client who had just met this guy. Yeah, they were pretty early on in dating. I want to say like 1 or 2 months. And throughout our discussions together, I knew that she was someone who loved to go on road trips and loved to sing in the car and get really into it and really enjoyed it. And I said to her, she was going on with this guy, and I said, have you done that with him yet? Have you sung in the car and showed him your silly side and what you enjoy to do? And she's like, oh, no way. I don't know if I can do that. And after we talked for a bit, I was like, this is important because this is part of you. This is a side of you that, one, I think is really fun and enjoyable. But she was scared to show it because she was worried about what he would think, if he would judge her, if he would. And this is like, it was a very healthy relationship. So it's not like he was portraying actually any of this on her. This was all in her head. Anyway, she went on the road trip, did it, and loved it, and he loved it, and that became a thing of theirs to do together. So it had the opposite effect, I suppose, and it showed her that that is possible. That's possible to be yourself. I also remember, like, I talk with a lot of clients about how do you implement boundaries early on in a relationship. And so many of my clients have really positive impacts or effects of setting boundaries. So one client, she was just chatting to someone, just seeing him. They weren't communicating great. She let him know about the amount of communication that she needed in a partner. He was really polite in his response and actually thanked her for expressing what she needed. And he validated that he wasn't able to provide that. In my mind, that's a super positive interaction, because she was authentic about what she needed, and then he was authentic about what he could or couldn't provide, right? So it didn't leave anyone in limbo assuming what the other person thinked or needed or doing or wasn't doing. It was clear. It was so clear about what was next to do. So in a nutshell, authenticity is about showing up as the real you that you are when no one's around, the real you are, the person you are when you're with your best mates, and it's about just being comfortable to be you and allowing the other person to see that without making prejudgments about what they're going to think of that. And realizing that you're human and you have flaws and you have beautiful things about you, and that the other person's also human and they're probably worried about how they're being perceived and what is happening for them. Early on in dating is this weird stage of people guessing, like, what does the other person think? Where are they at where I'm at? Like, I don't want to go too far in because what if they don't want to go too far in? So, like, I encourage you to show up authentically as you as early on as possible, because then people can see if you're a good fit, as opposed to this other version of you, this 2D version of you that isn't all of you, isn't you whole as a human, and then thinking that you're that person when really you're a much more in-depth person that loves these things that you don't want to admit to them, that has these funny quirks, that has different things that makes you unique, and like, be proud of that. Okay, so here's the important part, right? Like, how do you do that? How do you stay grounded in you when you are working your best on being authentically you, but you still have these nerves, you still have these concerns, you still want it to work out, and you have these chemicals pumping through your body that you really like this person and you want it to work out, and maybe you're anxious, and there's a whole mix of things going on there. So how do you stay grounded in you when you've got the mix of what you really want to do, but your brain telling you, that's not safe, you shouldn't be you, just hide that part of you. No one's liked that. So pause and check in with yourself after every interaction. And if possible, in the middle of the interactions, like, how did I go? Was I authentically me? Were there parts of me that I was hiding? Were there parts of me that I was ashamed to show? Did I really express what I wanted, what I felt I needed, my boundaries? Was I able to express them? 2, get clear on your values. And really, you should be doing this before you start dating anyway. So that's a little sneak into what you need to be doing before you start dating. But if you haven't yet, get clear on what your values are. What is important to you? What's important for you to how you make decisions? What's important for you in terms of what your behavior is? What's important to you in terms of like the values that the other person shows? 3rd one is really important. Don't abandon your life, because it's very easy sometimes when you haven't had someone around and you meet someone and maybe there's been a dry patch in dating, or maybe you've had a lot of duds that you've been dating and you suddenly find this person that you really gel with. It's really easy to drop everything that you were already doing before that. But you had a life before this. So keep up hobbies, keep up routines. Yes, you need to make space for a new relationship, but it is that fine balance of like, don't get rid of everything that's you. Keep your life there, keep doing those things, and make space for another person, right? Sometimes I see this, like, it's hard for people to do that. They either give up everything or they have this like really harsh stance in terms of like, I'm not giving up anything that I enjoy, and they're just going to have to fit in. Well, you have to make space for the relationship as well. This is what you've wanted. So make space for the relationship, and also keep up the activities, the hobbies, the things that you love, catching up with friends, doing the things that for your life. Then boundaries, really, really, really important. I feel like I've done a million episodes on this, but happy to cover it again. Boundaries are how you express what is okay and not okay for you. And it is very important to express boundaries in every relationship very early on, so that it's no one is fooled, no one is tricked, no one is misunderstood around what you're okay with and not okay with. And think of it as a way to connect with the other person. It's not a way, people are often scared of boundaries because they think, oh, I'm going to push them away. They're going to think it's like there's too many rules or walls. Or boundaries are so good as connection, because once someone understands you and they know how far they can go in terms of like saying certain things or doing certain things, then it's clear. It's so crystal clear to them what to do. So use boundaries as connection tools, and watch. This is probably the most important one over number 3. Watch for the old patterns to pop up, because they will, because you're human and that's what happens, right? Our brain is wired a certain way. It does not mean it cannot be rewired. However, in the process to rewiring, it is normal for old patterns to pop up and show like, are you done with this? Are you ready to move on? Or do you want to keep playing out this old pattern over and over again? And you get the choice. You get the choice about whether you want to re-engage in that old pattern again or whether you want to do differently. You always have a choice in that, but it will pop up. Old patterns pop up, and that's normal and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're failing or going backwards or why haven't I learnt this yet? That's normal. That's a normal part of change. So I want to leave you with this. You don't need to be someone else to be loved. You don't need to pretend that you are this amazing human with no flaws for someone to want you. You don't have to convince someone to love you. You don't have to chase after something that isn't for you. If you are authentically you throughout your life, you will attract people into your life who match that model of you, that part of you, the whole version of you. So the more that you can love the whole version of you, the more that other people will love the whole version of you. Often we get into like shaming parts of ourselves. And again, that's probably another episode, but it's important. The more that you can work on loving the whole you, showing the whole you, being authentically you early on in dating and continue to be throughout relationships, the better this will be for you. And the one little caveat I will throw in this is that if you're in a relationship and you feel like you've been hiding parts of yourself and the other person doesn't really know who you are, it is okay to start letting them come out. And maybe you do it slowly. Maybe you set your boundaries slowly. Maybe you express what you need slowly. But a supportive, loving relationship will meet you there and they will want you to be happy and they will want to support you to do these things. So it's never too late. Yes, it's great to do this early on in relationships, but it's never too late to do it later on. All right, everyone, I will see you next week and thanks for chatting. Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you got value from this, please don't hesitate to share with a friend so they can get value from this too. And don't forget to hit follow so you don't miss an episode. It's also how I keep this podcast alive.
Audience exclusive.